Life in Moldova, $500 budget, beautiful women, and Europe's secret SX life. There's a tiny country in Europe most people have never heard of, and maybe that's the point. Moldova isn't on the cover of travel magazines, and it's definitely not trending on Instagram. But what if I told you that in this overlooked corner of Europe, $500 is more than enough to live well for a month? I'm talking about full meals for under $3, rent cheaper than your monthly coffee bill, and a lifestyle that feels strangely untouched by the modern world. The women, stunning. The kind that turn heads without even trying. But it's not just about looks, it's the mystery. The nightlife here doesn't have flashy signs or TikTok tags. In fact, it almost feels like you're not supposed to talk about it. Because what happens in Moldova after dark doesn't make it to the internet. And that silence, that's what makes this place unforgettable. You've never seen Europe like this before. You've heard of Paris, Rome, and Berlin. These are the cities people dream of visiting when they think of Europe. But Moldova, it's not on most people's radar, and that's exactly why it's so interesting. Moldova is a quiet, small country tucked away between Romania and Ukraine. It's not crowded with tourists. You won't find big travel influencers promoting it, but beneath that quiet surface is something unexpected. Moldova is one of the cheapest places to live in all of Europe. You can rent an apartment, eat out every day, and still have money left over, all on a $500 budget. But it's not just about saving money. Moldova has a kind of beauty that sneaks up on you. Old stone buildings, rolling vineyards, cozy cafes, and streets full of mystery. Then there's the part no one wants to talk about. What happens after the sun goes down. The nightlife is raw, real, and hidden. It's not made for tourists, it's private, sometimes secret, and many who experience it choose to stay silent. There's something unspoken here. Some say it's thrilling, some say it's dangerous, others just don't want to admit what they've seen. So, why do people who visit Moldova often stay quiet about their trip? Why don't they share stories like they do about Paris or Rome? Maybe it's because Moldova gives you something you can't explain in a simple post or video. Maybe it's not meant for the spotlight. But if you're still watching, you're about to understand why this forgotten country might just be Europe's most surprising experience. Where is Moldova, really? Moldova is a small country in Eastern Europe, sitting quietly between Romania and Ukraine. If you look at a map, you might miss it. It's landlocked, meaning it doesn't have any beaches or oceans, and that's part of why many travelers skip over it. But just because it's not big or loud doesn't mean it's not worth noticing. Moldova has a quiet charm that slowly pulls you in. It's like stepping into a time capsule. The cities have old Soviet-style buildings, narrow streets, and faded colors. Some people say it feels like going back to the 1990s, and in many ways that's true. Life here moves slower. People still gather at local markets, bake their own bread, and drink homemade wine with friends and family. The capital, Chisinau, isn't flashy. You won't see shiny skyscrapers or luxury shopping malls, but you will see cozy cafes, wide boulevards, and locals who still take the time to enjoy small things. Moldova's past plays a big role in its present. It used to be part of the Soviet Union, and you can feel that history in the air. The older generation speaks Russian, while the younger ones often speak Romanian. There's a cultural mix here that's both complicated and beautiful. Some buildings still have Soviet symbols, while others wave the European Union flag with pride. It's a country caught between two worlds, East and West, past and future. The people are warm, but reserved. At first, they might seem quiet or even cold, but give it a little time. If you're respectful and friendly, they open up. They'll invite you to their home, serve you borscht or stuffed cabbage, and pour you a glass of homemade wine. That's the real Moldova. Simple, strong, and full of heart. But there's also something else happening here. Something that doesn't show up during the day. As the sun sets, Moldova changes. What felt quiet and old-fashioned suddenly feels mysterious. Neon lights flicker on. People dress up. The energy shifts. The nightlife isn't loud or wild like in some European capitals. It's low-key but intense. Bars are tucked away. Some places only open if you know someone. There's a hidden side to Moldova that most visitors don't see. And those who do, they often choose not to talk about it. That contrast is what makes Moldova so unique. During the day, it feels like a postcard from 1991. Peaceful, grounded, and a little forgotten. But at night, it turns into something else. Something unexpected. It's not for everyone, and it's definitely not polished. But if you're curious, open-minded, and willing to look beyond the surface, Moldova has a story to tell. Not through loud ads or shiny tours, but through quiet moments, deep conversations, and things you only understand once you've been here. The $500 lifestyle. Fact or myth? Let's talk money, because when people hear $500 a month, they usually roll their eyes. In most places, that doesn't even cover rent, let alone food, fun, or anything extra. But Moldova plays by a different set of rules. Here, $500 isn't just enough to survive. It's enough to actually live. And not in some tiny village cut off from everything, but right in the capital city, Chisinau. Let's break it down. First, rent. You can rent a decent one-bedroom apartment in Chisinau for around $200 to €250 a month. And we're not talking about a rundown place in the middle of nowhere. These are clean, simple flats, often furnished with internet and basic utilities included. If you're okay with living just outside the city center or sharing with someone, you can find places for even less, sometimes as low as $150. Compare that to cities like Paris or New York, where you'd be lucky to find a closet for that price. Next, food. Moldova is a country that still values local farming and home cooking. Fresh produce is cheap and full of flavor. You can buy tomatoes, cucumbers, eggs, bread, and cheese from open-air markets for a few dollars. Eating out is also super affordable. A meal at a local restaurant might cost you $3 to $5. Want something fancier? A nice dinner with drinks might run you $10 to $15, tops. Some expats even joke that they got full before their wallet even noticed. One traveler I met told me, "I spent less on food in Moldova in a week than I did on snacks in an airport lounge." Transportation, even cheaper. The public transport system in Chisinau is simple and dirt cheap. A ride on a minibus or trolleybus costs around 10 to 12 Moldovan LU. That's less than $0.60. Taxis within the city usually cost $2 to $3, and if you use a ride-sharing app like Yandex or Bolt, prices can be even lower. If you're into walking, the city is compact enough that you can get around on foot, which saves even more. Now, let's talk about internet and phone bills. High-speed internet for your apartment is around $10 to $12 a month. Mobile phone plans, with calls, texts, and decent data, around $5 to $10. One expat laughed and told me, "My biggest expense was Wi-Fi, because I kept uploading WoW videos for my friends back home." When was the last time you said that about your home? Internet bill? If you're living on a tight budget, Moldova will surprise you. But even if you're not counting every penny, the low cost of living here opens up new options. You don't have to stress about rent, bills, or blowing your budget on one night out. That kind of freedom changes the way you experience a place. You can actually slow down, enjoy your time, and say yes to more experiences. Of course, not everything is perfect. Moldova isn't a luxury paradise. If you want five-star hotels, fancy malls, or endless shopping choices, this might not be your place. Some imported goods are expensive, and certain things, like modern, gyms, or international restaurants, can be limited or cost more. But if you focus on living like a local, you'll find that the country gives you much more than it takes. What makes it even better is the community. Moldova has a growing number of digital nomads, students, retirees, and budget travelers who've all figured out the secret. They share tips, help each other find places to stay, and talk about the strange magic of living in a place where money just stretches further. One American traveler I met said, "I came here for a month just to explore something different. That was 8 months ago, and I still haven't left. I can't even explain why. It's just easy here." There's also a simplicity to life that's hard to find in bigger cities. No constant pressure to keep up with trends. No daily race to earn more just to survive. Instead, you wake up, have a strong cup of coffee for $0.50, maybe chat with the old lady who sells fresh bread on the corner, then go about your day without the stress of thinking, "Can I afford this?" That kind of mental peace is worth more than most people realize. And it's not just about saving money. Moldova teaches you to appreciate the little things, like homemade food, long walks, and conversations that actually mean something. You don't need to spend big to have a good life here. In fact, spending less makes you pay more attention to what really matters. It's not about living cheap, it's about living smart. So, is the $500 lifestyle real? Yes, completely. But it depends on how you live. If you try to live like a tourist every day, ordering fancy cocktails, taking taxis everywhere, and chasing Western comforts, you'll blow through your cash. But if you live with the flow of the country, eat what the locals eat, shop where they shop, and slow your pace, you'll not only make it work, you might actually start to enjoy life in a way you didn't expect. In Moldova, $500 isn't just a budget. It's a way to live differently, a way to reset, a way to realize that maybe the good life isn't about how much you spend, but how much you feel. Beautiful women. The myth and the mistake one of the first things people hear about Moldova, especially from travelers or random internet forums, is that the women are stunning. Not just pretty, stunning. It's one of the biggest talking points about the country, and it often attracts foreign men who think they're stepping into some kind of dating paradise. But where there's hype, there's often misunderstanding. And sometimes that misunderstanding can lead to uncomfortable truths. Let's start with the facts. Moldovan women have gained international attention for their looks. According to several modeling agencies across Europe, Moldova is considered a hotspot for scouting new faces. Many young women from Moldova end up modeling in Italy, France, Germany, and even the United States. The country has also made its mark in global beauty pageants, including Miss World and Miss Europe, with contestants from Moldova often ranking high or winning regional titles. That's not by accident. The women here are often tall, slender, and have that natural beauty that turns heads without even trying. There's a cultural focus on presentation. From a young age, many Moldovan women are taught to take care of their appearance, dress well, stay clean, and present themselves with pride. But here's where things start to get complicated. Just because someone is beautiful doesn't mean they're looking for romance, especially not with random tourists. Many foreign men arrive in Moldova with the idea that it's full of women just waiting to meet and marry foreigners. They think it's easier to date here, or that their foreign status gives them some kind of advantage. That idea might come from online dating sites, travel blogs, or even videos where men boast about finding love quickly in Moldova. But in reality, it's rarely that simple. The truth is, Moldovan women are just like women anywhere else. Some are looking for love. Some are focused on their careers. Some want to travel or study abroad. Some are not interested in relationships at all. The idea that all Moldovan women are waiting for foreign men is a fantasy, a dangerous one. And if you show up believing that, you're more likely to be seen as a fool than a catch. There's a cultural gap here that many people don't think about. Moldova is a place where tradition still holds a lot of power. Family values, religion, and respect for elders are important. Many women grow up with strong expectations about how to behave, how to speak, and how to carry themselves in public. At the same time, Moldova is also changing. Younger generations are becoming more independent. They use Instagram, go to universities, work remotely, and build their own lives. So, while the outside world sees beauty and tradition, inside Moldova, there's a quiet tension between old values and modern freedom. And that tension leads to misunderstandings. A foreign man might see a well-dressed woman at a cafe and assume she's open to conversation. But in Moldova, that approach might come off as rude or even creepy. It's not common for strangers to flirt in public, especially during the day. People tend to be more private, more reserved. So, if you try to act like you're in a Hollywood movie, you'll probably be ignored, or worse, offended someone. Now, let's talk about one of the biggest mistakes: thinking that attention equals affection. Some foreign men go on dates in Moldova and feel like things are going well. The woman is polite, she laughs at jokes, and the date seems smooth. But then comes the shock. She brings up her financial problems, hints at needing help, or suggests expensive gifts. Suddenly, the line between dating and transaction gets blurry. Not every woman does this, of course. Most don't. But the men who come with fantasies often fall for the ones who know how to play into those fantasies. There's a story that keeps coming up in expat circles. A guy, let's call him Mike, came to Moldova thinking he'd find a wife. He was in his 40s, divorced, and had seen videos online about dating in Eastern Europe. He booked a long trip, rented an apartment, and started meeting women through dating apps. On his second week, he met a woman, smart, beautiful, and friendly. She told him she was looking for something serious. They went on dates, took pictures, together, and everything felt like a dream. Then she mentioned her rent was late. Mike, wanting to be helpful, gave her money. Then it was her brother's medical bill. Then her phone broke. Over a few weeks, he gave her more than $2,000. And then she disappeared, blocked him on everything, wouldn't answer calls. When he went back on the dating app, her profile was gone. He later found out she had done the same to at least 2 other foreigners that month. She wasn't looking for love, she was running a quiet business. Mike was heartbroken, not just because of the money, but because he genuinely thought they had something real. He felt used, embarrassed, and worst of all, confused. He couldn't understand how someone could pretend so well. But the truth is, when you show up expecting a fantasy, someone will always be there ready to sell it to you. Of course, this doesn't mean all Moldovan women are like that. Far from it. Most are just living their lives, working hard, and taking care of their families. They don't want to scam anyone. They just want respect and honesty. But Moldova is a country with deep economic problems. Jobs are limited. Salaries are low. Many people, especially women, feel pressure to find ways to support themselves and their families. That's why some choose relationships with foreigners, not for love, but for survival. So, what's the lesson here? It's simple. Respect people as people. Don't come to Moldova thinking you're a king because you have a Western passport. Don't assume every smile is an invitation. And don't confuse beauty with availability. Moldovan women are proud, strong, and smart. If you treat them with respect and take the time to understand the culture, you might build a real connection. But if you show up looking to buy a dream, don't be surprised if you get sold one. Beauty can be a powerful thing. It can make people act strange, take risks, or ignore red flags. But real relationships, anywhere in the world, are built on more than looks. Moldova teaches that lesson the hard way to those who aren't ready to listen. If you're thinking about coming to Moldova for the women, stop and think twice. Come for the culture, the food, the peace and quiet. If you meet someone special, great. But don't chase an illusion. That's the myth. And if you're not careful, that's the mistake. Secret nightlife. What you're not supposed to see. During the day, Moldova feels quiet and calm. Life moves slowly. People go to work, sit at cafes, walk through parks, and shop at local markets. It's not a loud or flashy place, but something interesting happens when the sun goes down. The quiet disappears, and a different kind of energy starts to build. It's not something you'll find advertised on a billboard or on the front page of a tourist guide. But if you stick around long enough, you'll start to hear whispers. And if you know where to look or who to ask, you'll find a nightlife scene that's very different from what you'd expect in a small European country like this. Let's start with the basics. Moldova does have regular bars and clubs, just like any other European city. In the capital, Chisinau, you'll find places where people go to drink, dance, and listen to music. Some clubs play electronic music, others go for hip-hop or local pop. The drinks are cheap, the dress code is relaxed, and the crowd is a mix of students, young professionals, and the occasional traveler who somehow ended up here. These places are open to everyone, and if all you want is a fun night out, they'll do the job. But beneath that normal scene, there's something else. Something harder to find, but much more intense. Moldova has a network of elite underground parties that most tourists never hear about. These events are not promoted publicly. They don't have flyers or Facebook invites. Sometimes even locals don't know about them. Entry is usually by invitation only, and the people who go? Often rich Moldovans, foreign businessmen, and a few chosen outsiders. What happens at these events isn't exactly a secret, but it's not openly discussed either. You might hear someone casually mention a private party or a special show, but they won't explain much more. It's the kind of thing you only understand once you're inside. These parties often take place in hidden venues, old warehouses, private villas, basements under restaurants. The locations change often, partly to avoid too much attention, and partly because it adds to the mystery. There are drinks, music, and food like any other party, but there's also something different in the air, a feeling that the usual rules don't apply. At some of these events, guests are given colored wristbands to show what they're open to, just talking, dancing, or something more intimate. In some cases, people wear masks to protect their identity. It sounds dramatic, but in Moldova, it's just part of how things are done in these circles. There are no clear rules, but there is a clear code. What happens here, stays here. One expat I spoke to said it best. It's not illegal, it's just Moldova. He wasn't surprised by anything anymore. According to him, the line between party and business, between fun and transaction, is very thin. He explained that sometimes girls from regular cafes or salons show up at these events, not because they work in nightlife full-time, but because they need extra money or want to meet someone rich. That doesn't make them bad people. It just shows how hard life can be and how creative people get when trying to make ends meet. There's something emotional about it too. You could walk into a bar during the day and be served coffee by a quiet young woman with big dreams and a tired smile. Then that same night, you might see her on a stage dressed in a way that makes you look twice, surrounded by people cheering, drinking, and acting like they're in a movie. That contrast hits hard, not because it's shocking, but because it's real. It reminds you that everyone has a story, and not all stories are easy. What's strange is how normal it all becomes once you see it. No one acts like it's a big deal. There's no shame or guilt. It's not dirty or dangerous like some might assume. It's just another side of life here. Moldova doesn't hide its problems. It just deals with them in its own way. The country has deep economic challenges. Jobs don't pay much, especially for women. Opportunities are limited, so people adapt. Some take second jobs, some leave the country, and some, only a few, step into the world of private nightlife. Not all of it is wild or sexual either. Some of these events are simply about status and luxury. Rich people showing off, influencers trying to build their name, business deals being discussed over wine and loud music. In Moldova, money talks louder at night. If you have the right look, the right friends, and the right amount of cash. Doors open that most people don't even know exist. But it's not for everyone. If you're not careful, it's easy to get lost in the illusion. Some foreigners come here, get a taste of this secret world, and fall in love with it. Or at least they think they do. They believe the attention is real. The connections are genuine. And sometimes they are. But often it's just a show. A very convincing one. You're being entertained, not loved, and if you confuse the two, you'll end up hurt, broke, or both. Still, there's something unforgettable about the way Moldova handles nightlife. It's not in your face. It doesn't scream for attention. It whispers. And if you listen closely, you'll hear stories that stay with you long after you leave. Not because they're shocking, but because they show how complicated life can be. How people laugh, dance, and survive even when the odds are against them. The nightlife in Moldova isn't about flashing lights or endless parties. It's about mystery, emotion, and unspoken agreements. It's about knowing what not to say and when to walk away. If you get the chance to see this side of Moldova, take it seriously. It's not a game. It's real life, playing out behind closed doors, in soft lights and quiet music. In the end, what you remember won't be the music or the drinks. It'll be the feeling that you saw something honest, something raw. Moldova's nightlife doesn't pretend to be something it's not, it just is. And maybe that's why it leaves such a strong mark on the people who experience it. The dark side: beauty, poverty, and power games. Not everything in Moldova is cheap food, hidden parties, and beautiful people. Behind the quiet streets, soft smiles is a much harsher truth. Moldova is one of the poorest countries in Europe. That's not just a fact, it's a shadow that touches everything. You see it in the buildings, in the tired eyes of workers, in the way people count coins before buying bread. The beauty is real, but it stands side by side with struggle. And when poverty meets beauty, strange power games begin. Most Moldovans work long hours for very little pay. The average monthly salary is often under $400. Many people have side jobs just to get by. Young people dream of leaving, going to Italy, Germany, or anywhere they can find better wages. Parents work abroad for years, sending money back home to raise their kids. That's the reality here. Money is tight, and every decision feels heavier because of it. Now think about what happens when tourists or foreigners come in with money. They walk into Moldova and instantly stand out. To locals, someone who can spend $50 at a bar without blinking seems rich. This difference in money creates a quiet power shift. And where there's a power gap, there's always someone who will use it. I spoke with a bartender who works at a popular club in Chisinau. She's 26, speaks 3 languages, and wants to study abroad. But for now, she mixes drinks 6 nights a week. She told me, "Foreign guys come here thinking they're kings. They tip big, act friendly, and expect more than just a smile." She says some women play along, not because they want to, but because they feel they have to. Sometimes, it's just easier to say yes than to risk losing your job, she said quietly. A taxi driver I met painted a similar picture. He's been driving for 15 years. Knows every street, every shortcut, every corner where something shady happens. He said, "The clubs, the bars, they're not all bad. But when money's involved, things change. Girls go there hoping to find a better life, but most of the time, they just get used." He didn't say it with anger, just tired honesty. He's seen it all before. Then there was a dancer I met. Not from a fancy show or underground party, just a girl who works weekends at a small bar. She's 22, dreams of moving to Spain. When I asked why she started dancing, she shrugged. "Rent," she said, "and school. My mom's sick. My little brother needs shoes. People think it's easy, but every time I smile at a stranger, it costs me a little." She paused. It's not who I am. It's just what I have to do right now. These aren't horror stories. They're not meant to shock. They're just real. Moldova's nightlife and dating culture aren't full of villains. Most people are just trying to survive. But survival in a poor country with beautiful people creates strange rules. People learn how to use what they have. And sometimes what they have is beauty. That beauty becomes a tool, a way to get better tips, free meals, or even an escape. And then there's the silence. Many locals don't talk openly about these things. It's not that they don't care, it's that they're used to it. They've grown up with it. Everyone knows someone who works at a club, who dates for money, who left the country and never came back. It's normal, even when it shouldn't be. Foreigners who visit often don't see this side. They see the smiles, the service, the charm. They feel special, like they're welcomed with open arms. And in many cases, they are. But that warm welcome doesn't always come for free. Sometimes it comes with a price, emotional or financial. And sometimes it's hard to tell where the real connection ends and the survival strategy begins. But here's the part that stayed with me the most. The worst story I heard didn't come from a club or a party. It came from a church, a small, old church on the edge of town. I met a priest there who had been helping young girls in trouble. Some had been trafficked. Others had been promised jobs in other countries and ended up in terrible situations. One girl, just 17, had been offered work as a waitress in Italy. She was excited. She told her family goodbye, packed her bag, and left. No one saw her again. Later, the priest got a call. She had been found, but not as a waitress. She had been forced into sex work, trapped, no phone, no way out. She had been missing for months before anyone figured out what happened. The priest looked tired when he told me this. He said, "It's always the same. They trust the wrong people. They believe the promises. And then, nothing." That's Moldova's dark side. Not loud, not obvious, but always there. Behind every smile is a story. Behind every party is a reason. And behind every beautiful moment is a shadow you can't always see. This doesn't mean Moldova is a bad place. It's not. It's full of kind, hard-working people. It has history, culture, and heart. But ignoring the hard parts doesn't help anyone. If you visit here, come with open eyes. Respect the people. Don't judge them. Don't try to fix them. Just understand them. Power, poverty, and beauty create a complicated mix. And in Moldova, that mix is everywhere. Some use it, some suffer from it, most just live with it. And if you listen closely, really listen, you'll hear the truth under the surface. In the end, Moldova isn't about what you see. It's about what you learn when you stop looking at the surface and start paying attention to the people. Not the stories told online, not the myths, but the quiet voices behind them. And sometimes those voices come from places you least expect, like a cab at midnight, a club kitchen, or even a tiny church on the edge of town. Digital dating wars. Swiping in a parallel universe. Dating has changed all over the world, and Moldova is no exception. Here too, phones are full of apps like Tinder, Badoo, and Instagram. People swipe left and right just like they do in New York or London. But the way people approach dating in Moldova feels a little different. It's a mix of old-school manners and new-age speed. The result? Something that feels familiar at first, but soon turns into its own strange little world. Let's start with Tinder. Yes, people use it here. In fact, in cities like Chisinau, it's one of the most common ways to meet someone new, especially for foreigners. The profiles look normal. Selfies, a few travel photos, maybe a dog, maybe a mirror pic. But once you match and start chatting, things take unexpected turns. Some conversations are short and polite. Others are fast and direct. And some Some are just plain confusing. One guy I met, a German traveler, shared a story. He matched with a girl who seemed friendly and sweet. She asked normal questions. "Where are you from? What are you doing in Moldova?" He told her he was just exploring, seeing something new. She smiled and suggested they meet for a coffee. So they did. They met at a cafe, ordered drinks, and started talking. But then, something strange happened. Halfway through the conversation, she stopped replying, not on the phone, but right there, in person. She looked at her phone, smiled, stood up, and walked out without saying a word. "She ghosted me," he said, laughing, while still sitting across the table. It sounds funny, and it is, but it also shows how strange digital dating can be in Moldova. Sometimes it feels like a game with rules that no one explains. Foreigners often get matched quickly. They get a lot of attention. At first, that feels great. It makes you feel attractive, wanted, but soon you start to notice that not all the attention is about romance. Some of it is curiosity, some is about fun, and some is about something else entirely. There are women who clearly say in their bios, "No hookups, serious only." Others write, "Looking for someone who can take care of me." Then there are profiles that just say, "No English, only Romanian or Russian," but still swipe right on foreigners. It's a mixed bag. And unless you speak the language, it's hard to know what's going on. One American guy I met said he went on 5 Tinder dates in 1 week. "At first, I thought I was killing it," he said. "But then I realized every girl asked the same thing. Where are you? Staying? How long are you here? Do you have a car?" By the 3rd date, he got the pattern. It wasn't about him, it was about what he had. That's not always the case, of course, but it happens often enough that people start to notice. And it's not just the women. Some local men use dating apps to meet foreign women visiting Moldova, too. They offer to show them around, take them to parties, introduce them to friends. Sometimes it works out, other times it's just a way to hustle drinks or dinners. Digital dating here can be sweet, awkward, exciting, and strange, all at once. What makes things more complicated is that Moldova still has strong traditional values. Many people believe in serious relationships, marriage, and family. So, while dating apps are popular, there's still a lot of pressure, especially for women, to be careful with how they present themselves. Some girls use fake names or keep their faces partly hidden. Others delete the app if they think someone from their family might see it. There's a kind of fear mixed in with the fun, and that's where things can get emotional. You might match with someone who seems interested, but they disappear after a few chats. Or someone might open up quickly, only to later say, "Sorry, I can't date a foreigner. My parents would never accept it." These moments remind you that behind every profile is a real person with their own rules and limits. Then there are the Instagram connections. Moldova has a strong online culture. Many people use Instagram not just to post selfies, but to connect, flirt, or even make business deals. Some women link their Instagram to Tinder, and once you follow, you see the full picture. Perfect photos, luxury items, beach trips. It's hard to know what's real. Are they influencers? Are they models? Are they just normal people with great editing skills? Sometimes it's all three. A local friend told me, "Instagram is the real dating app here. Tinder is just how you find the page." And he might be right. Many conversations start on Tinder but quickly move to Instagram. That's where the deeper talks happen. Or where they end depending on how things go. One guy said he matched with a girl, followed her on Instagram, and liked a few of her posts. She replied with her PayPal link and said, "If you really like my pictures, show it." He blocked her. But again, not all girls do this, just enough that the story keeps spreading. At the same time, there are real love stories. I met a couple. She's Moldovan, he's from Canada. They met on Badoo, chatted for weeks, then met for coffee. One thing led to another, and now they live together. "It wasn't easy," she said. "We had to deal with my family, his visa, and a lot of misunderstandings. But in the end, it worked because we were honest." Their story shows that it's not all games and tricks. Real connections happen, but they take patience and a lot of trust. Digital dating in Moldova is like walking through a mirror maze. You see reflections that look familiar, but everything feels slightly off. What you think is a sign of interest might just be politeness. What seems like a great match could be a test. And sometimes the person you think you know turns out to be someone else entirely. The best advice? Keep your eyes open and your expectations low. Be respectful, be curious, but don't assume anything. Moldova is full of surprises, and that includes the people you meet online. Some will make you laugh. Some might break your heart. Some might just vanish mid-date, like our friend from earlier. In the end, dating here isn't better or worse. It's just different. The apps are the same. The people? A mix of tradition, hope, humor, and survival. If you're lucky, you'll meet someone who sees you for who you are, not what you have. But even if you don't, you'll walk away with stories you'll never forget. Welcome to the parallel universe of dating in Moldova. It's wild, it's weird, and it's 100% real. Why expats stay but won't say why. At first glance, Moldova doesn't seem like the kind of place people move to long-term. It's small, not very well known, and doesn't offer the kind of luxury lifestyle you'd find in bigger European cities. But if you stay a while and talk to people, especially foreigners who've made Moldova their home, you'll notice something strange. Many of them came for just a short visit, a vacation, a few weeks of work, maybe even just a Tinder date. But somehow, months or even years later, they're still here. They didn't plan it. They just stayed. And when you ask them why, most of them smile and give vague answers. You hear things like, "It's quiet," or "Life is simple here," or "I just feel good in this place." But the truth is, those answers never quite explain the full story. The real reasons are deeper and, for some, harder to talk about. I met one man from the UK who came to Moldova to meet a woman he had been chatting with online. They hit it off, and within 6 months he had rented a small apartment in Chisinau and started teaching English part-time. "I thought I'd stay for the summer," he told me. Then I figured, why not stay for winter too? Now it's been 3 years. When I asked him what he loved most, he just said, "It's the way people look at you. You feel noticed." It wasn't about the weather, the food, or the jobs. It was something unspoken, a feeling. Another man I met from Turkey originally came to Moldova for business. He planned to open a small import-export shop and spend most of his time traveling back and forth. But after just a few months, he closed his business and started living full-time in a quiet neighborhood just outside the city. He now spends his days relaxing, going to cafes, and meeting friends in the park. "Everything is slower here," he said. "It's not easy, but it's peaceful. And peace is hard to find." That word, peace, comes up a lot. Expats talk about the slower pace, the way people still cook at home, the calm mornings, and the absence of constant pressure. Moldova doesn't rush you. It doesn't demand much. That can feel refreshing, especially to people from big, stressful cities. But is peace the only reason they stay? That's the part that gets tricky. Because when you dig a little deeper, you start to see patterns. Many expats here are single men, often older, often with money. Some came looking for love. Others came after a divorce or a midlife crisis. They wanted a fresh start. Moldova gave them that. But there's also something else. A kind of attention they get here that they don't get back home. Respect, smiles, interest. Some say it's because they're different. Others admit it's because they're foreign, and that's seen as valuable here. There's also the cost. Moldova is cheap, and that makes life easier. Rent is low, food is affordable, Even if someone doesn't have a big income, they can live well in Moldova on much less than they would need in the US or Western Europe. One expat told me, "Back home I was broke and stressed. Here I can breathe. I don't have much, but I have enough." Still, staying in Moldova isn't always easy. There are real challenges. The visa system is confusing. If you're not from the EU or a neighboring country, you'll likely need to leave every 90 days or figure out a residency permit, which isn't always simple. Language is another issue. Romanian is the official language, but many people still speak Russian. English is not widely used, especially outside of the capital. That makes everyday tasks, like visiting a doctor or going to a government office, more difficult. Then there's the loneliness. Moldova doesn't have a huge expat community. You might meet a few other foreigners, but it's not like other major cities where you can easily find people from your country. Making local friends takes time. Building real relationships takes even longer. Some expats admit that they feel isolated. They love Moldova, but they also miss home, miss their language, miss being understood, and yet they stay. That's the part that keeps you guessing. Why do so many people, despite all the difficulties, choose to build their lives here? Why do they speak so highly of a country that is quiet, poor, and sometimes difficult? And why do they often avoid giving straight answers about what keeps them here? It's possible that they themselves don't fully understand it. Moldova doesn't impress you at first sight. It's not the kind of place that sells itself with flashy images. It grows on you slowly. The longer you stay, the more it feels like something familiar. Not exciting, but safe. Not rich, but real. And maybe that's exactly what some people are looking for. So, is it the peace that keeps them here? Or something else? Is it the freedom to start over? The feeling of being wanted? The escape from pressure and noise? Maybe it's all of that. Or maybe it's something even deeper, something you can't name unless you've lived it. In Moldova, people don't always say what they feel, and the expats who stay, they're not always ready to explain why. But if you watch closely, if you listen between the lines, you start to see the truth. Moldova isn't just a place you visit. For some, it's a place that gently takes hold and doesn't let go. The quiet life, markets, meals, and Mother's Moldova may have its flashy nightlife and surprising stories, but if you really want to understand the heart of the country, you have to step away from the clubs and late-night secrets. You have to go where everyday life happens, into the kitchens, the markets, the quiet family homes. This is where the real Moldova lives. It's not loud, it's not fast, but it's full of meaning. And in many ways, it's more powerful than anything that happens after dark. Life in Moldova is still deeply connected to tradition. People value family, food, and time spent together. It's the kind of place where mothers and grandmothers cook meals from scratch, using recipes passed down through generations. Lunch is not just something you grab on the go. It's often a full sit-down meal, especially on weekends, and it always includes more food than you could ever eat. Dishes like sarmale, cabbage rolls, mamaliga, cornmeal porridge, and plăținte, stuffed pastries, are homemade and served with pride. There's almost always soup, fresh bread, and a plate of pickled vegetables on the side. And let's not forget the wine. Moldova is known for its wine, and not just the kind you buy in stores. Many families make their own wine at home. It's part of the culture. People grow grapes in their backyard, crush them with their feet, and bottle the wine themselves. It's strong, sweet, and always served with a smile. Drinking wine in Moldova isn't about getting drunk. It's about sharing something special, something made with care. At the center of all this is the Moldovan mother or grandmother, often the strongest person in the household. She does the shopping, the cooking, the cleaning, and still finds time to check in on everyone. Her kitchen is her kingdom. Her table is her way of showing love. When you sit at that table, you're not just eating. You're being welcomed, fed, and cared for in the deepest way. Go to any open-air market in Moldova, and you'll see the rhythm of daily life. Older women selling vegetables from their garden, men offering homemade honey, cheese wrapped in cloth, and jars of preserved fruit lined up like colorful trophies. The prices are low, the quality is high, and the sellers often greet you with a nod or a gentle smile. There's no rush, no loud sales pitches, just people making a living, one egg or apple at a time. This slower lifestyle is part of what makes Moldova so special. In a world that's always rushing, Moldova feels like it's walking at its own pace. People don't stress about being trendy. They care more about being practical and kind. Neighbors help each other, families stick together, and even if someone doesn't have much, they'll always offer you a chair and something to eat. But what's truly interesting is how this peaceful, quiet life exists right next to the more chaotic side of Moldova. You could spend your morning drinking tea with a grandma who still uses a wood stove, and your evening in a nightclub where everything looks and sounds like a scene from a music video. It's not rare here to pass a goat cart on one street and a Ferrari on the next. That contrast isn't strange in Moldova. It's normal. People accept it. They live with it. One man told me, "You can have a heartwarming lunch at your grandmother's house, full of homemade food and family hugs, and then, 2 hours later, see a rich businessman speeding down the road in a luxury car, not even noticing the old farmer walking by." It's like two worlds living side by side, but somehow not, clashing. They both belong here. This balance between old and new, quiet and loud, simple and flashy, it's what makes Moldova so unique. It's not trying to be like anywhere else, it's just being itself. The young people still respect their elders. Even if they party on Saturday night, they'll probably visit their family on Sunday. That mix of tradition and modern life is woven into everything. You'll see it in the way weddings are celebrated, with loud music, huge feasts, and strong family bonds. You'll feel it in the way people sit together after meals, talking for hours, never in a rush to leave. You'll hear it in the laughter of children playing outside, and in the careful way a grandmother pours soup into a bowl, making sure everyone gets enough. Even in cities, people bring this village spirit with them. They may live in apartments now, but many still keep jars of homemade jam in the cupboard or dry herbs on the windowsill. The connection to the land, to food, and to family doesn't go away. It stays strong. Of course, Moldova isn't perfect. Life can be hard. Many people struggle with money, especially in small towns and villages. Young people often leave for better jobs abroad. But those who stay for a reason. They know the value of quiet mornings, fresh bread, and knowing your neighbor's name. They know that sometimes happiness doesn't come from having more, but from being close to the people who matter. In the end, Moldova teaches you that simple things can be the most powerful. A home-cooked meal, a shared bottle of wine, a story told at the table, a slow walk through the market. These are the things that last. They don't make headlines. They don't show up on flashy travel ads, but they stay with you long after you leave. So, yes, Moldova has its wild nights and secret stories, but don't miss the quiet life. Don't skip the markets, the meals, the mothers. Because in those moments, you'll find the real Moldova, and you might just find a part of yourself too. Some stories stay with you no matter how much time passes. You hear them once, and they replay in your mind over and over again. Moldova is full of stories like that. Strange, sad, confusing, and sometimes even funny. But they all have one thing in common. They show you how different life can be when you're far from home. These aren't stories you'll read in a travel guide or find on the news. These are the kinds of stories people tell in whispers, or only after a few glasses of wine. These are the stories that still haunt me. The first one happened to a tourist, someone just trying to have a good time. He had come to Moldova for a quick trip, Just a few days to relax, take some photos, and maybe meet some locals. He was walking through the city center when a friendly young guy approached him. The guy spoke good English and introduced himself as a student studying tourism. He told the tourist, "I'm practicing my tour guide skills. Want a free tour?" The offer sounded nice. The tourist had nothing to lose, or so he thought. They walked around for about an hour. The guide pointed out buildings, gave random facts, and even bought a bottle of water for the tourist. Everything felt normal. At one point, they sat down on a bench. The local said he needed to use the bathroom quickly and left his bag next to the tourist. A few minutes later, the tourist reached into his own bag to check his phone and noticed his wallet was gone. He waited. The guide didn't come back. Confused and worried, the tourist walked to the police station. But he didn't even know the guy's full name, and the only photo he had was a blurry selfie they had taken earlier. The police couldn't do much. It was clear this wasn't a one-time scam. The guy had done this before. Friendly, polite, helpful, and fast. He knew exactly how to earn trust and when to disappear. The tourist didn't lose a lot of money, but the experience left a bigger mark. He said it felt like betrayal. He came to Moldova open-hearted and left feeling a little more closed. He told me later, "I wasn't angry about the money. I was angry that someone saw my kindness as a weakness." That's the lesson. Sometimes, in unfamiliar places, trust can cost more than cash. The second story is about a Moldovan girl. Let's call her Anna. On Instagram, Anna looks like a model. Perfect makeup, luxury outfits, travel photos in fancy hotels. She has over 50,000 followers, mostly men who leave heart emojis and "you're so beautiful" comments. Her profile shows a life that looks glamorous: parties, dinners, and spa days. But offline, her life is very different. A local friend told me about her. In real life, Anna works at a small clothing store 6 days a week. She makes just enough to cover her rent and help her mother with bills. The Instagram life is something she built carefully. She uses secondhand clothes, borrowed accessories, and staged photos to make everything look expensive. Once, she paid a driver just to sit in his Mercedes and take pictures. She posts pictures from hotel lobbies even if she didn't stay there. It's all part of the image, but it's not just about pretending. For Anna, the Instagram account is her hope. A few times, wealthy men from other countries have offered her money, gifts, or even flights to meet them. Sometimes she says yes. Sometimes she doesn't. She knows the risks. But she also knows that in Moldova, where good jobs are rare and salaries are low, she has to be creative. One night, Anna went out with a man who had followed her online for months. He flew in from another country and promised her a nice dinner and a real connection. They met, talked, and things seemed okay. But when she refused to go to his hotel afterward, he got angry. He said, "You act like a queen online, but you're nothing in real life." She walked away in tears. Later, she deleted all her photos from that week and didn't post for days. Anna's story is not unusual. Many young women in Moldova live two lives: the one they live every day and the one they show online. One is about survival. The other is about hope, fantasy, and the chance to escape. Neither life is fully real, but both are part of who they are. What haunts me is how much pressure Anna felt to look perfect, to play a role just to feel seen, and how quickly people are ready to tear her down once they find out the truth. The third story is one I still don't fully understand. It starts with a man from Italy. He came to Moldova on a short business trip. On his last night, he went to a restaurant near his hotel. A young woman approached him. She seemed nervous but kind. She told him she needed help. Her brother was sick. She had lost her job. She wasn't asking for money, just someone to talk to. He listened. They spoke for hours. He felt sorry for her, and something about her made him care. Before the night ended, he gave her money to help with her rent. She thanked him, cried a little, and left. The next morning, he saw her again, outside the same restaurant. But this time, she was laughing with another man. That man, he was the same person who had helped the Italian tourist find the restaurant the night before. A waiter later told him the two were known for doing this together. One would find the target, the other would play the part of a helpless local. The story always changed, but the goal was the same: get sympathy, get money, disappear. The Italian man felt crushed. He had believed every word she said. He told me, "I thought I was helping. I thought maybe I could make a small difference, but it was all just a performance." What makes this story painful isn't just the scam. It's the fact that his kindness was used against him. And now, every time he thinks about helping someone else, he hesitates. But maybe the saddest part is that the girl's story about a sick brother, lost job, unpaid rent, could have been true. Maybe not for her, but for someone. Because in Moldova, stories like that aren't rare. So while she may have faked the details, the reality behind it isn't fake at all. All three of these stories hit me in different ways. One is about being fooled. One is about living behind a mask. And one is about how good intentions can be used in the wrong way. They're not easy stories. They're not clean or clear. But they show something important. Moldova is full of people trying to survive, trying to be seen, trying to make sense of their own lives. Sometimes they do it with honesty, sometimes with tricks, but always with a kind of raw truth that stays with you. These stories don't mean Moldova is a bad place. Far from it. They just show that life here is complicated. People are doing what they can with what they have. And in that struggle, things aren't always what they seem. You can laugh, cry, and feel lost, all in the same moment. And maybe that's why these stories haunt me. Because they don't have easy endings. Because they make you ask questions without simple answers. And because in some strange way, they remind me that every place, no matter how beautiful or broken, is full of people trying to find their way. Just like the rest of us, the takeaway. What Moldova taught me after everything I saw and felt in Moldova, one thing became very clear. This country is not just about low prices, pretty faces, or mysterious nightlife. It's not a place you can put in a single box. Moldova is full of contradictions, and that's exactly what makes it feel so real. At first, you might come here for simple reasons. It's cheap, it's quiet, or maybe someone told you it's undiscovered. But the longer you stay, the more you realize that Moldova isn't simple at all. It's full of beauty and sadness, warmth and struggle, silence and secrets, all at the same time. What surprised me most was how much the people reflect this mix. On the outside, Moldovans may seem quiet, even cold. But once you break through, that first layer, many of them are incredibly kind, generous, and thoughtful. You'll meet people who have very little, yet still offer you food, help, or a smile. You'll see families that stay close even when life gets hard. At the same time, you'll also meet people who are tired, who have seen too much, who don't always know who to trust. It's not easy to live in a place where jobs are few, corruption is common, and many young people feel like they have to leave just to survive. But even with all that, Moldova has a strange power. It slows you down. It makes you pay attention. You notice things here that you don't in bigger cities. You hear the birds in the morning. You feel the silence at night. You sit at a table and really taste the food. You talk to strangers and actually listen. Moldova has a way of forcing you to be present. And that alone is something rare. One of the biggest lessons Moldova taught me is that life isn't about choosing one side, good or bad, rich or poor, strong or weak. Life here sits in the middle. People are beautiful, but also broken. They are proud, but still humble. They laugh even when they're in pain, and that makes them strong in a way you don't often see. It's not loud strength. It's quiet, deep, and stubborn. I also learned that this isn't a place to fix. Many outsiders come to countries like Moldova thinking they can help or improve something. But Moldova doesn't need to be saved. It needs to be understood. People here aren't waiting for rescue. They've been surviving and living their way for generations. What they want most is respect for their culture, their choices, and their way of life. There's a saying I heard while I was here. Beauty can blind you, but it can also open your eyes. That stuck with me. Moldova is full of beauty, natural, human, emotional. But if you only see the surface, you'll miss the truth. The truth is found in the hard stories, the quiet moments, and the uncomfortable questions. The truth is that life here is complex, and that's okay. It doesn't need to be wrapped in a perfect package. When I came to Moldova, I was curious. When I left, I was humbled. This country reminded me that real life doesn't always look like the pictures we see online. It's not always easy or fair or smooth, but it's honest. And in a world full of fake smiles and fast answers, honesty is something powerful. So what did Moldova teach me? It taught me that people can be both strong and soft. That silence can speak louder than words. That poverty doesn't always mean misery, and pleasure doesn't always mean happiness. It taught me that every place has layers, and every person has reasons. Most of all, it taught me that when you go somewhere new, the best thing you can do is stop trying to judge or fix. Just watch, listen, learn. Let the place show you who it really is. Moldova did that for me, and I'll never forget it. Now take a moment, zoom in on Moldova. Seriously. Pull up a map and look at those thin lines between Romania and Ukraine. A small, landlocked country most people forget even exists. But after everything you've just heard, ask yourself, why don't more people talk about this place? Why is Moldova missing from all those top 10 travel lists? Why is it left out of conversations about Europe, even though it holds so many truths? This isn't just about saving money or having a different kind of vacation. Moldova isn't a place that sells itself with fancy hotels or picture-perfect brochures. It's a place that teaches you things. It shows you how complicated life can be, how quiet moments can feel powerful, and how $500 can give you more than just cheap living. It can give you perspective. The question is, could you survive a month in Moldova? Not just financially, but emotionally. Could you handle the slow pace, the hidden stories, the mix of beauty and struggle? Or would it change you? Would it make you think differently about the places we chase, the lives we admire, and what it really means to live? Here's what I want from you. Leave a comment. Be honest. What part of Moldova surprised you the most? Was it the people? The nightlife? The quiet mornings with fresh bread and homemade wine? Or was it something else? Something harder to explain? And if you know someone who thinks they've seen it all, someone who's walked through Paris, posed in front of the Colosseum, or had coffee in Vienna, share this with them. Send this to that one friend who thinks Europe is just castles, canals, and croissants. Let them see what they're missing, because sometimes the places that no one talks about are the ones that tell the best stories. Moldova isn't loud, but it speaks volumes. And if you've listened this far, maybe it's already said something to you. If you thought Moldova was surprising, wait until you see what's coming next. In the next episode, we'll take you to a country where dating isn't just something people do for fun. It's almost like a full-time job. People are always watching, always playing a role, and trust doesn't come easy. Everyone seems to have their own reason for being there, and most of them won't say it out loud. It's a place full of smiles, but even more secrets. Can you guess where it is? Make your guesses in the comments and get ready for something even stranger.